So this is going to be a quick video for everybody who wants to keep dragging me into this argument on Facebook. Everybody saw the recent announcement from Trinity that their motors are getting pulled and are no longer roar legal for stock or 13.5 four-wheel drive. You guys knew this. If you race, you knew that Trinity had an advantage. There's a reason we all bought the Trinity motors. And now you same people are going to complain because the motors were deemed illegal. That's racing. We knew they were fast motors. We knew something was going on with them. There's a reason they made ridiculous torque, and you could gear them up. I've been guilty of it. I was a motor tuner back in the day. I pushed the roar rules back when everything was brushed. Had my motors through the review board, passed tech, all that. Did every trick you could think of to brush motor to win a race. And stock. Everybody that races a stock or a spec class does it. We are racers. I don't care what you say. We are all going to push as far as we can to the rules. Your motor's illegal, it's illegal. Yeah, it sucks. I know people who have fortunes wrapped up in just sets of motors to go racing. I know this. We do it too. But what you will never see me do if any of my motors are complained is jump on the internet and start complaining about it. Throwing a fit, trying to change the rule book to accommodate me. We all play by the same set of rules. It's fair for everybody. It works. Me personally, I don't care if you run a true spec motor, stock motor, mod motor, you tell me I can't tune a motor. We're all going to look for ways to make whatever we're running in whatever class better than it was when we got it. That's racing. So, War came along and said the new motor was illegal. Yeah, it sucks, but it is not the end of the world. We knew there was an advantage to this motor. If you run stock, you knew there was a reason that the Venom and the Phantom and the Trinity motors were making ridiculous amounts of torque compared to everybody else. May not have torn into it to see what it was. We did. Knew it was there. But it was still on the roar proof list so we could race it, right? We played that advantage. Lots of other people played that advantage. It's not the end of the world. You still have other ways to tune a brushless motor. Still have other advantages to play with when you're racing. Still going to look for ways to make your car more efficient. Still going to do every other trick in the book to get that car as quick as possible on the limited horsepower you have in those classes. It's not one thing that makes that car capable in that particular class. Doing a review or setups on some spec racers here soon, I will show you guys what I do to them to make them much more competitive cars in a 17.5 or a 13.5 scenario. There's lots of little tricks. None of them are worth a lot of time, but they all add up. However, they all decrease the reliability of your car. And that's the price you got to pay. Do you want to go out and run stock and win, or do you just want to go out and make laps and have a good time? Personally, I'm after wins and trophies. To each their own. But if you're going to play these rules, you cannot complain when Roar comes out and says something is illegal that you've known's had an advantage for at least the last 5 months or so. Roughly. I think that was the first one that we had that was out of spec. Well, technically, not out of spec. If you really want to get into the details, read the whole Roar announcement and the Team Trinity announcements. Supposedly, it was a manufacturing issue, and they got the wrong magnet wire for their motors. I would believe that story a lot more if it wasn't just, 2, 3, maybe 4 years ago. They got caught doing the exact same thing. The exact same situation where the magnet wires in their brushless motors were out of roar spec and deemed illegal before a large national race. It sucks. Yes, a lot of us wish they would have made this announcement sooner before the big events that are coming up in the next week or two. It is what it is. It levels the playing field dramatically. I'm going to have to retune motors, find new stock motors. The guys that were fast with those motors are going to have to find ways to make that time up by either tuning a different motor and figuring out how to do it or playing some other tricks with their cars. Point being, it's our sanctioning body. It is, if you don't like what Roar's doing, pay the dues, become a Roar member, become part of your regional board or part of the national board. Go to the Roar meetings. They are open to any Roar member. If you don't like the direction Roar is going with some of this stuff, don't complain if you're not a member of it and you don't take an active part in the decisions that Roar makes. Roar has a very specific approval process. Every couple of years they bring it up to the membership on anything. The tech guys at Roar are awesome. They know what they're doing. They try to keep the playing field level in stock. My biggest question I hate answering when we go to the track is what class is best for me to get started in. A lot of people want to run stock because the speeds are down and it doesn't look like it'd be as hard on a car. I'm here to tell you that I have 3 times the amount of money in my stock class car that I have in my open mod car. That's racing. If you want to win stock, that's what it takes. And what I've seen a lot of tracks do that I'm okay with is they'll separate stock down if they have enough entries into a stock pro class and a stock amateur class or whatever they want to call it at their particular track. To try and separate guys like me that take it real serious and put a lot of time and tuning into our cars and equipment just to run stock from the guys who are trying to get in. But when somebody asks me what it takes me to run a stock car, I hate answering that question. If you're racing stock, you're not going to go buy one motor. You're going to go buy 3, 4, 5, however many you can afford to get your hands on. You're going to put them on your motor checker or dyno yourself. You're going to take the one that turns the highest RPM and has the most torque, and you're going to tune that motor from there and try and get the rest of them to match it as best you can, or do what I do and sell them off after I've tuned them. They'll be better than they were out of the box, but I'm looking for the best motor I can get in that car at that time. I do run a lot of Trinity stuff. I've always ran a lot of Trinity stuff. Excuse me. But I'm not going to complain because our sanctioning body made a rules change. They didn't even make a rules change. They just banned a motor that was on their approved list because that motor has been changed since it was originally approved and no longer meets these rules for that motor. If you guys don't want to run stock and don't want to listen to a lot of motor rules, run mod. Yes, the cars are faster. Yes, they are harder to drive. But it's the nature of the beast. They're going to race stock and be competitive in it and learn how to drive clean and run door to door and wheel to wheel, depending on the class you're running, or learn how to handle a faster car in mod. Thing I like seeing, I like a lot of these tracks running spec classes. I'm working on a spec class to me a truck. Have to run the motor speed control that came with the truck. That being said, are there things I can do to improve that motor within the rules? Because I can't open it. It's a sealed in belt. Yes, there are things you can do during the break-in process with that motor to get more RPM out of that motor. But it's going to hit you in a wallet. Thankfully, the motors aren't really expensive. But there are ways you can tune that motor to get more, lose some torque, gain some RPM, or gain some torque and lose some RPM. There are ways you could do that. The class I'll be running is, to me, a semi-trucks, so we're kind of stuck with the gearing that we got. So I'll be looking to get some more RPM out of that motor. I'll be doing a video on how to do it. Everybody else that's playing the spec class at a high level and traveling to run that class is doing the exact same thing. Everybody's got to run the same round LiPo batteries. About the only thing you'll see different from truck to truck is going to be your steering servo and the radio that they're running, because you can run any servo and any radio you want. Everybody's on the same tires. It's a spec class. But just because it's a spec class, don't think people aren't tuning these cars. The only modification you're allowed to do is ball bearings. There's nothing that says I can't blow all the grease out of them bearings and put oil on. Makes the car roll freer. There's gray areas with what you can and can't do to make stuff fit the way it should from the factory. You can't modify parts, but if that part has flashing on it somewhere, there's nothing saying that I can't remove that flashing and polish that part. Those are the tedious, time-consuming little things that make a difference between a prepped race vehicle and somebody going out to have fun. And there's nothing wrong either way you want to go. But everybody wants to call me out on Facebook and ask my opinion on what I think of Trinity. Was Trinity intentionally cheating? Don't know, don't care. I really, quite honestly, don't. The only thing that I'm concerned with is that our sanctioning body, who governs our top level racing, says that motor is no longer legal to run. Big deal. If I was a tech inspector at a big stock event coming up and I saw them, I'm going to tell you, it's not legal for the class. Change the motor. That's the rules. That's tech. That's why we have tech inspections. I've been to national events and had my brush motors tore completely down and handed back to me in pieces from tech inspectors trying to find stuff wrong with my motors. There are tips and tricks there that are not illegal that you can do that are huge performance advantages. But those performance advantages cost you life out of the motor. It's just like any other form of racing. I don't care if it's racing RC cars, don't care if it's nitro, electric, all the way up to your guys running late model in NASCAR. They're going to look for advantages, try and stay within their rules or push their rules as far as they can. And most of the time it costs you life expectancy, wear and tear. You're not going to be able to have your cake and eat it too. You want more RPM out of that motor, it's going to cost you wear and tear. That motor is not going to last as long. So, apologize for this little rant video. This will be linked to everybody on Facebook and every site that's been wanting my opinion on the current situation. Well, that's it. It's a racing deal. So either you want to play the racing game or you don't. But you can't complain when, actually, if I read the PDF right, Trinity pulled their motors when they found out the wiring issue. They were illegal from Roar. There was already an issue there in the past. Everybody that races already knows that history. It sucks that the motors aren't legal. There's 40 or 50 other manufacturers out there that are. You know, it's just a racing deal. If you're a real racer, you should be able to take any 17.5 or 13.5 out there and get it to perform at a good level. You know as well as I do, when you took them Trinity motors out and they started screaming on your motor machine that something was up in them motors before you started tuning them. There are reasons for this. I know very few of you took the time to tear them down to find out. I did. It is what it is. As long as they were on the Roar list, I'm just like you. I'm going to run them because they were an advantage to me. Now they're not. It's not the end of the world. Does it mean I've got a bunch of paperweights laying around? Yep, sure does. Will I find a use for them? Probably in something. Not sure what. Practice motors, setup motors, something. I'll find a use for them, but I can't run them. So unless Roar changes their stance on what's going on, they're currently just paperweights. Now, from my understanding on reading the entire documents that were released by Trinity and Roar, the issue comes down to the size and thickness of the magnet wire. Not sure yet if you're going to be able to take your rotors and other parts out of those motors and swap around. Not sure how that ruling would work. Personally, don't see an issue with changing the arms out in our motors. It's not a huge advantage regardless. Everybody's pretty much running a very similar two-pole magnet setup in those motors. So, like I said, it is what it is. They're no longer legal. Get over it, move on. It's not the end of your racing career. It's not the end of stock class. It's not the end of limited mod buggy. It just is what it is, guys. That's just a racing deal. We can take it, move on with it. Yeah, it hit a lot of guys in the wallet, but the guys that it really hurt are the ones that, have more disposable income than most of us and are put into the stock class to be super competitive. I, for one, like to see it from both sides. Trinity didn't try and fight it this time. They said they'd pull their motors. I'm sure Trinity will get the issue resolved to come out with a new legal motor because, like I said, I'm a really big fan of Trinity. But in the meantime, I'm not stressing about it. I'll run Hobby Wings or any one of a number of other manufacturers' motors that are out there and still on the approved list for stock. Like I said, you guys have comments or anything, post them down below. I'll try and reply to them. Remember to like and subscribe. And sorry for the short rant video. I'm working on editing the how to rebuild and tune a nitro motor video. It's almost completely done. It's going to be 2 parts, maybe 3 by the time it's all said and done. And we're also working on tearing down the truggy. I just felt the need to make this video so I'm not answering the same questions over and over again on Facebook. Thanks, guys. Remember to like and subscribe. If you got the means, bounce over to Patreon, help support us. Y'all have a good day.